Hi everybody, it's me, Lisa T, coming at you with some positive energy and lighten up your life with Lisa. Something a little different today. A friend of mine who follows my work and my inspirations and my readings, etc., and really enjoys what I do with you on social media and asked me if I would do a reading she came across. So this reading is from Herb K. So Herb K was given the gift of freedom from alcohol February 21, 1984. As a result of the application of the 12 steps as contained precisely in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, he experienced a profound spiritual awakening in 1988. And that's what a lot of my readings and a lot of my journey is about having a spiritual awakening, waking up, right? Getting present. All of this spiritual stuff is about waking up from these constructs, from the illusions of the world. So this man had his awakening in 1988. And since then, he has been very involved in carrying the message of recovery, as well as how to sustain and improve and enlarge our awakening. So that's Herb K, who this reading is from. And this reading is called 10 Principles to Ensure a Fully Realized Human Life. So these are 10 principles to live by to ensure a fully realized, so self-realization, realizing who we are and who we aren't as well. The unity consciousness, the recognition that this ego self that we, that becomes full of fear and resentments and envy and jealousy and not good enoughs, and all of that is all part of the ego built self, and it's not. It's a separation from the oneness, from the united higher power of God consciousness, you can call it, or universal consciousness. God is just a word to describe someone's belief in this higher power outside of themselves. So these are 10 principles to live by to help ensure that we continue on that awakening path. So number one, here we go. Number one of the principles to ensure a fully realized human life. Number one is each of us is imperfect. We all make mistakes, but are not mistakes. So one of major parts of my journey has been getting comfortable with my imperfections. I remember when I started this healing journey really deeply when I was about 33, so like 15 years ago, I had on my wall a drawing that I did of myself. So it was an image of myself, and it said, I am perfect in my imperfections. I am perfect in my imperfections. So the imperfect piece has been hard for me because I recognize in my heart that I'm perfect as I was created. I am perfect as I was created, but I go up into my head. That's where the ego lives too. Go up into my head and think that I need to improve this part of myself, or this part isn't good enough, or this part isn't the way it should be, or, I got to change this. And that all happens a lot with comparison. So that's one of the things when we're being out in the world, watching for comparison, because I think for myself for sure, and maybe for you too, that when the imperfect crops up and it feels like something I might suffer with, it's probably directly related to me comparing myself to someone else. The best comparison is to compare ourselves to yesterday, compare ourselves to a year ago, compare yourself to how far you've come. Forget about others, forget about comparing yourself to others. Everyone is on their own journey. So recognizing your imperfection, but recognizing your perfectness in your imperfections. We're all unique. We all have, everyone has a different fingerprint, a different thumbprint, a different footprint, a different perception of the world. We all have slightly differences. There's a slight difference, even in the body. When I'm working with people's muscles as a massage therapist, yes, there's a general, everyone has a shoulder, but the way that their pain manifests is different for every person. So we got to tap into that piece, that the uniqueness of ourselves, and embrace that. So each of us is imperfect, but we are perfect in our imperfections, I want to add. And we all make mistakes, but are not mistakes. So I have made multiple mistakes. And I remember when I started another deep part of my healing recovery journey about 6.5 years ago, I kept saying, but I'm such a screw up. I am such a screw up. I've made so many mistakes. And a good friend of mine said, no. You've made mistakes, but you're not a mistake. You've made mistakes, and we're human. How do we learn? By fumbling. How do we learn? By falling off the bike. How do we learn when something doesn't work? Then we learn how to make it work. So it's mistakes are gifts. Mistakes can be gifts. And not can be gifts. I believe mistakes are gifts, and again, it's how we look at things. It's our perception of things. So how do we want to see it? Do we want to view it through the lens of failure, or do we want to view it through the lens of, failing forward? Oh, that didn't work, but that's okay because now I learned. That's okay because now I learned. That's okay because now I learned. And to take this pressure off of that goes hand in hand with the perfection piece. Like, we're not going to do every day perfectly, and it's okay when we don't. That's a day that we're learning and growing. Number 2 is each of us operates out of self-interest. I just said to a friend, I said, you know what, deep down, I think we're all using each other. I just said this a couple of days ago because we were talking about, like, I don't want to feel like I'm being used. She said, I don't want to feel like I'm being used. And I said, well, you know what, deep down, we're all using each other in some way, shape, or form until we're enlightened beings and we can just see the oneness, right? But until then, even with a father, with a mother, as an adult, at this stage of the game, we're using, slightly using, our friends to make us feel better, using our family to make us feel loved. Like, when we're not fully tapped into this and owning just being in this vessel, this oneness with ourselves, with the self, which then allows us to be in oneness with all, then in some way, we're operating on self-interest. We're trying to get something. So just recognizing that each of us operates out of some self-interest. And that's okay because we're humans, we're honest, we're spirits having a human journey. And in that human journey, part of being human is having self-interest. So that's okay, but recognize it. And then you can try to evolve that. Number 3, other people's actions and reactions are not personal to me. They are personal to them. This one's a big one to swallow. This is a big pill to swallow, to be able to have people around you react, say things, have tones in their voice, have words in their language, have body language, have a look in their eyes. When we can walk through the world and have people around us have those come at us and not take it personally, then we are super growing. We are super growing. When we can recognize that person's reaction, that person's tone of voice has nothing to do with me. It is theirs. Sorry, I got to plug my computer in here. I'm reading off my computer while I do the video on my phone. So bear with me here for 1 second. So, so where was I? So people's reactions have nothing to do with me. Recognize it, being able to really be okay when someone, attacks, or when someone reacts to you, recognizing, oh, that's theirs. That's not mine. I used to be really sticky. I heard a good friend explain this way last night. Sticky. I used to be really sticky. So one thing happened and it stuck to me. And learning to let stuff go right through you is part of the spiritual journey. So other people's reactions have nothing to do with you. Let's see here, my computer. Good, we're good to go. Okay, so other people's actions and reactions are not personal to me. It's not like I remember. Oh my God, it was chronic for me where I was in unhealthy relationships, and I would be like, why did I do to deserve that? What did I do to deserve that? Why are they treating me that way? I must have done something. I was really, because it had stuck on me as a child that when something bad happens out here, if I don't feel good, then I must have done something wrong. If something comes at me that doesn't feel good, I must have done something to create it. I must have done something wrong. I had that stuck on me, and I'm learning to unstick that from me and recognize other people's actions and reactions are not personal to me. It has nothing to do with me. And when you can live through that, you're free. You're free. And then the world does not dominate your emotional journey. The world does not dominate whether you're happy or sad or up or down, or it's not in the world's hands. It's not in people, places, and things. It's not in their hands. It's now in your hands and in higher power's hands. So that was number 3. Number 4, I want my life to be a positive experience of joy. I choose to live in reality as it actually is. This is a great one. The second half in particular for me, because I recognize this probably about really strongly about 2 years ago, where I recognized that, oh my God, I'm in my own illusion. Like I'm not seeing reality for what it is. I'm so trapped in my story and seeing through the filter of my story and my fears and my pain that I wasn't able to see it for what it was, just see the reality. And the reality is actually always love. The universe is always supporting, loving, and caring for you. It is always carrying you on a journey for your own higher good. So even when something seems bad, it's if you can flip it, you got to flip it and flip it and flip it and flip it until you can see how it's serving you, because everything actually is serving you. So that's when you can live in full flight reality, when you recognize like, oh, this is all for my higher good. This is all for my higher good. And when you can see your experience through that lens, then your life is a positive experience of joy, because you're like, oh, that's for me. That's a gift for me. That's a gift for me. You know, if something really disturbs you, then it's a chance for you to look within and see how you can evolve and not let that thing cause a disturbance inside of you, not let that thing that came at you change your experience of joy for your life. Okay, number 5, I am a survivor, not a victim. I am fully responsible for my perceptions, my feelings, my thoughts, my choices, my actions, and their outcome and consequences. I am responsible for my perceptions, and when I perceive when I perceive reality for what it is, and when I perceive from a place of love, then my feelings, thoughts, and choices all then accompany that, which then turns everything. Then the part I play in it is also positive. And I sort of disagree with that. I am responsible for the outcomes and the consequences. I definitely am responsible for consequences, but the outcomes, I have learned to let the outcome go. If I walk from a place of truth, living from a place of love, living from a place of tolerance of others, so that I don't take their stuff personally. When I'm living from that, then the outcome is up to the universe. As long as I do my part to live truly, fully in love, then I trust also that the outcome is going to be positive. And I am not a victim. I am not a victim. I've been working on A Course in Miracles. It's a big read. It's a big book, and I've been working on it for years and years and years. I've never gotten all the way through it, but I pull pieces from it, and I started over multiple times. And but I am not, one of the phrases in A Course in Miracles is, I am not a victim of this world. I am not a victim. When we feel victimized, we are prone to then create more scenarios that make us feel like a victim. So we feel like a victim when we're like, oh, why is this happening to me? If you're saying that kind of stuff, then you're a victim. Then you're playing victim. Why is this happening to me? How could this happen to me? Comparing yourself. Why do they get that and I don't? And so that's all victim mentality. And we're not victims. Yes, we've been through things. We've survived a lot of traumas. We've survived a childhood. Most of us have survived a childhood. But when we're on a spiritual journey, we can see that stuff for our higher good. It was all there to help us evolve and become truer to our higher self, and fly above the illusions of this world. Okay, number 6, I want to be respected and cherished. I choose to treat others with respect, tolerance, and kindness. I want to be respected and cherished. So we can't give away what we don't have, and we can't receive what we don't have to give. So when we choose to treat others with respect, tolerance, and kindness, we then will receive respect and be cherished as well. I was talking with a different friend yesterday or the day before, and I was saying, I recognize when I can give someone else time and space to like respond to me, or to when I can give someone else time to process something, when I'm not looking for immediate gratification from the world. Then when I can't, then it gives me permission to sit with stuff, and then I don't feel this need to people please. So when I can give others time and space, then I give myself time and space to process things, and then I'm not always reacting to the world with this with knee-jerk reactions of, oh my God, got to get love, acceptance, approval, got to get love, acceptance, approval. So what can I do to get? And it's like, no. Take some time and space. give that to myself, then I can give it to others. So when I treat others with respect, tolerance, and kindness, I then give myself space to receive that. It's always coming at me, but we block it with all these fears, fears and resentments and other stuff that gets in the way. So yes, I want to respect it and cherish, and I choose to treat others with respect, tolerance, and kindness. I think that those two sayings should be flipped. Okay, number 7, I will attempt to live independently, undefended, in reality as it is, detached from circumstances and other people's attitudes and actions. I will practice being a fully forgiving and loving person. So I will attempt to live independent, undefended, and in reality as it is. What I've learned is that I'm typically either, if I'm not in a good space, then I'm either in protection or defense. So in a protective personality protective personality, which is going to be defending, or I am in performing. I'm performing. So I'm not being my true self. I'm putting on a smile so that everything will be okay. I'm performing. I'm putting on a happy attitude or something. I'm performing to control my environment. So performing or protecting. We're protecting as well to control the environment. We want to control the environment because we're trying to control our experience. But when we live independently, meaning that I am not dependent on you. My feelings, my emotions, my experience is not dependent on that other person. It is not dependent on whether, things all work out my way today. My happiness and my joy is not dependent on outside forces. It's dependent on me. So then I'm independent. I'm also going within, and that's where the source of higher power is. That's where the higher self is. That's where God resides, is within, outside of this, the illusions that we see through our eyes. So detach from circumstances, detach. That's why I didn't like that other outcome one. Like, I got to detach from outcomes. I'm not doing this to get that. I'm not doing this to get something. When I'm doing something to get something, I am in manipulation. So we have to detach from the outcome and just live from our truth, live from our goodness. And practice being fully forgiving and a loving person. I learned in the last couple of years as well. One thing I came across was a little quote, and I loved it, and it said something about relationships. The bottom line, what a relationship is forgiveness, constant forgiveness. Our relationship with our cousins, our relationship with our aunties, our relationship with our moms, our relationships with our dads, our relationships with our partners, our relationship with our friends, our relationship with our co-workers, with our clients, with our you name it. It's all about forgiveness at the end of the day, because people are going to, say the wrong thing from your point of view. People are not always going to behave perfectly, like number 1, right? So forgiving. Everyone is actually always doing the best, including you, in that moment. It's only 3 seconds in hindsight we're like, shit, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that, or what, it's only when we analyze it a second later or weeks later that we see it in a different light. But in that moment, we are always acting in the best possible way that we can in that moment, with the awareness and spiritual consciousness that we have in that moment. So forgiving and loving. We have to be a fully forgiving and loving person. Number 8, I will foster my consciousness by paying attention. I will foster my consciousness. So I will hold, I will take care of my consciousness by paying attention to my emotions, thoughts, and actions. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I doing right now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I doing right now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I doing? If you pick up the phone to someone you're angry at, right? But when you see their number, what did you think? Like, oh, what were you thinking? What were you doing? Were you rushing around, or were you going to take the call in the middle of doing a bunch of things, or were you in a peaceful moment? And what are your actions? So what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what am I doing? I will foster my consciousness by paying attention to those things, to attempt consistent alignment with the flow of reality. So not getting into my story making of the reality, not making commentary on the reality, and not judging the reality. Oh, that was good, this is bad. That was good, this is bad. That works, that doesn't. That's my ego self judging everything to fit into my little plan. And my little plan at the end of the day, as an ego-driven, if I was an ego-driven person, would be to make sure everything works out in my favor so I feel loved, secure, accepted, etc. So I'll foster my consciousness to attempt consistent alignment with the flow of reality. So this is all number 8. Let me start again. I will foster my consciousness by paying attention to my emotions, thoughts, and actions to attempt consistent alignment with the flow of reality. I will spend time practicing improving my consciousness through focused intention for guidance and hope for transformation. I will spend time practicing improvement of my consciousness for focused intention for guidance. Guide me. Something else outside of me. Guide me through this uncomfortable scenario. Guide me through this uncomfortable moment. Guide me through this disturbing feeling I'm having. Guide me through this interaction I'm having with someone that doesn't seem on a good vibration. Guide me. Ask something else outside of you to guide you. Then you won't get caught up in old stories that will play out to try to understand what's happening and predict outcomes. So we want things to be predictable so that it feels safe. So if we stay in focused intention for guidance and hope for transformation, transform me through this, higher powers, universe, guide me through this, transform me through this. That's at the end of the day, that's all I want on a spiritual journey, guidance through all of this so I can evolve and become more and expand in my life, expand my experience of life, expand my experience of love and self-love. Okay, number 9. I think we're almost at the end. I think there's 12. Oh no, there's only 10. So number 9, I will live by universal principles as guidelines and guardrails for all my behavior. Guardrails on the side, right? Like if you're driving, like let something bump you back in line. Let it, because we want to go. We're humans, right? We're spirits having a human experience, and when you're in this meat suit, you're gonna bump. You're gonna want to like pull off course at times because we procrastinate. We get lazy. We stop doing the things that got us in the good spot. That's part of being human. I always say to my clients, welcome to the human, welcome to being a human. Like that's, but being on the spiritual journey, you keep getting back online. So we want to live by universal principles and guidelines and guardrails for all my behavior. Am I going to act on this? You're a human. You're going to have angry thoughts at someone, at a family member, at someone you love. You're going to have an angry thought, but do we act on it? No. Thoughts are going to come, but they're also going to go. And our thoughts are habitual. Our thinking patterns are habitual. Our belief systems are habitual. So as we're creating new habits, we're going to bump into those guardrails, but we have guardrails, and that's our spiritual journey. That's our universal principles, our guardrails that we can bump into and recognize, no, I'm not going to do that. And they're guidelines for us, guidelines to keep us on the right path to enlightenment. And finally, number 10, life is reality. Wonder, full, and awe, full. It's full of awe. It's wonder, like be like a child. Like the reality, like children have not gotten stuck in stories. Children have not gotten stuck in ego. Children are not self-conscious. They're not, oh my God, do I have food on my face? Oh my, a baby, I'm talking about like real young. They're not worried about how their hair looks. They don't even have hair, really. They're not worried about how big their muscles are. They're not worried about how fat their bellies are. They're not, they're not self-conscious that way. So, and they're full of wonder and awe. They're like, whoa, look at this color. Whoa, look at this ball. Look at these like things. Like they're just like, wow, because this is so cool to be in this, life, in this human experience. We come into this to see these things, to feel these things, to have all these things that are tangible, that we can touch, that we can eat, put in our mouths, right? So full of awe and wonder. Fill up with that. That's the life, filling up with this awe and wonder for all this cool experience that we get to have. People do the best they can because they are motivated by self-interest. I will hold, so people are also, remember we talked about self-interest, right? Like at the end, we all have a bit of self-interest in our journey with everybody we come in contact with. So, but we do our best we do the best we can. And recognizing even when we're motivated by self-interest. But I will hold the stance of loving kindness. I will strive to release all of my stories and scripts and live in the now. A script is like, they're supposed to say this. When I say this, they say this. And then when I do this, they're supposed to do this in return. And when I do that, that's your script. You've got this script of how things should be. So we're going to let go of that. Release those scripts. Release the old stories that play out. Oh, I remember when someone did this, that means this, and that means this. No. You don't know what it means. Be full of awe and wonder. Wonder what this means. Ask for guidance. So I will strive to release all of my stories and scripts and live in the now. I will enhance my social connections and be proactive in helping others. That's how we get out of self. We help others. We want to be of service to this whole universal experience. There's the unity consciousness, right? So number 10, one more time, all the way through. Life is reality. Wonder, full and full of awe. It's full. People do the best they can because they are motivated by self-interest. Recognize everyone's doing the best they can. I will hold the stance of loving kindness for all of them. And I will strive to release all my stories about them and my scripts of how they should behave and live in the now. Acceptance is right there. I will enhance my social connections and be proactive in helping others. Get out there. Don't be isolated. Live in the world. Be part of it. Be part of the awe and wonder in this whole experience of life, knowing that each of us has a piece in this puzzle, and to create the whole puzzle, we all have our unique piece. Each puzzle piece is different. Otherwise, it wouldn't fit. Otherwise, it would get all mixed up. We'd be putting the wrong pieces in the wrong places. So we are all our unique shape, color, creation, and we're all part of the oneness of this whole entire reality. So live by these principles and watch your life light up with Lisa. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed this. Have a great day, accepting, living in awe, and releasing. Thanks for watching.